My name is Emily, I'm 34 years old. And my own husband mocked me for not having a job right in front of his friends. What he didn't know. And what they didn't know was that I owned the company they all worked for, and that night, I decided to fire every single one of them. Before I continue, like this video, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from, because this story still hurts to tell. For 3 years, I let them all believe I was nothing. I let my husband, Marcus, think he was the provider, the successful one, the man of the house. Every morning, he'd put on his crisp shirt and expensive tie, kiss me goodbye, like I was some housewife with no purpose, and drive off to his important job. What he didn't know was that I owned the building he walked into every single day. I founded Technova Solutions when I was 28. Started it in my garage with nothing but a laptop and an idea that everyone said would never work. 6 years later, it's a multi-million-dollar company with over 200 employees. But I never told anyone. I used a different last name on all the paperwork. I worked from home, took my meetings virtually, let my board handle the day-to-day operations. To the outside world, especially to Marcus, I was just Emily who stayed home, who had no ambition, who depended on him for everything. And God, the way he looked at me sometimes. Like I was a burden. Like I was this pathetic woman who couldn't get her life together. When his friends would ask what I did for work, he'd laugh and say, "Emily's still figuring that out." The condescension in his voice would cut through me like a knife, but I'd just smile and change the subject. I thought I was being noble. I thought I was protecting his ego, letting him feel important and successful. I thought that's what love looked like, sacrificing your recognition so your partner could shine. But love isn't supposed to hurt like that. Love isn't supposed to make you feel small and worthless in your own home. It all came crashing down on a Friday night in November. Marcus had invited his work friends over for dinner, Jake, Ryan, and Trevor. They all worked at my company, though they had no idea. Jake was in marketing, Ryan in sales, Trevor in IT. Good employees, decent work, but nothing special. Just average guys with average jobs who thought they were kings of the world. I spent the entire day cooking, cleaning, making sure everything was perfect. I wanted Marcus to be proud, wanted his friends to think well of us. I wore a nice dress, did my hair, set the table with our good china. When they arrived, I greeted them with smiles and offered drinks, played the perfect hostess. The conversation started normal enough. Work talk, sports, the usual masculine posturing. But then Jake made some comment about the company's recent expansion, how they were hiring more people, how business was booming. Ryan laughed and said, "Yeah. Meanwhile, some people can just sit at home all day and not worry about contributing to society." He looked right at me when he said it. Marcus laughed. My own husband laughed at that cruel comment directed at his wife. "Hey, now, Emily's trying," he said, but his tone was mocking, like he was talking about a child who couldn't tie their shoes. "She sends out resumes sometimes. It's just a tough job market for people without real skills." Without real skills. Those words hit me like a physical blow. I felt my face burn with shame and rage, but I kept that smile plastered on my face. I excused myself to the kitchen, my hands shaking as I checked on the roast. When I came back with dinner, Trevor was in the middle of some story about lazy people who don't work. "I just don't understand how someone can be okay with being dead weight," he was saying. Like, don't you feel worthless? Don't you want to contribute something to the world? Jake nodded enthusiastically. Right? I could never be with someone who didn't pull their weight. I need a partner, not a dependent. And then Marcus, my husband, the man who promised to love and honor me, said the words that shattered everything. "Well, some of us are just more ambitious than others. Emily's content living the simple life. Not everyone can handle the pressure of real responsibility." They all laughed. They sat in my dining room, eating food I prepared, drinking wine I bought, and they laughed at me. Called me worthless. Called me dead weight. And Marcus not only allowed it, he encouraged it. I smiled through the rest of dinner. I cleared the plates while they moved to the living room for drinks. I served them dessert while they continued their conversation about success and achievement and how some people just don't have what it takes. Every word was a needle in my heart, but I took it all with grace because that's what I'd been trained to do my entire life. Smile and take it. Don't make waves. Don't cause problems. But inside, something broke. Something fundamental shifted in the core of who I was. If you're enjoying this story, please subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I read every single one and it means the world to me during this difficult time. After they left, Marcus was in such a good mood. He kissed my cheek and said, "Great dinner, babe. The guys really like you." Like their approval was something I should be grateful for. Like their mockery was affection. I waited until he was asleep. Then I went to my office, the one room in the house where I kept my real life, my real identity. I sat at my computer and stared at the employee directory. There they were, Jake Morrison, marketing coordinator. Ryan Petrov, sales associate. Trevor Walsh, IT support specialist. And Marcus Chen, senior account manager. For 6 years, I had built this company from nothing. I had sacrificed everything, my social life, my recognition, my identity, to make it successful. I employed over 200 people, provided health insurance and retirement plans, and paid vacation. I had created something meaningful, something that mattered. And these 4 men, these employees of mine, had spent the evening calling me worthless. The irony was so bitter I could taste it. They cashed paychecks that I signed. They worked in a building that I owned. They enjoyed job security because of decisions I made. And they thought I was nothing. I opened my laptop and began typing. 4 emails. Short, professional, direct. Your employment with Technova Solutions is terminated effective immediately. Please report to HR Monday morning to complete your exit interview and return company property. But I didn't send them. Not yet. I wanted them to have one more weekend of feeling superior. One more weekend of thinking they were better than me. I barely slept that weekend. Marcus was so cheerful, so pleased with how Friday night had gone. He kept talking about how we should have the guys over more often, how it was nice to socialize with successful people. Every word was like salt in an open wound. Sunday night, I sent the emails. All 4 of them. Then I called my head of security and asked him to be at the office early Monday morning. I also sent a message to my board of directors, letting them know there would be some personnel changes and that I would be taking a more active role in daily operations going forward. Monday morning, Marcus got dressed for work like any other day. He was humming in the shower, excited about some presentation he had to give. I made him coffee and breakfast, kissed him goodbye, like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Everything. I arrived at the office 30 minutes after Marcus did. I used my private entrance, went straight to my office on the top floor. Through the security cameras, I could see the chaos beginning to unfold in the lower levels. Jake was the first to get the call to HR. I watched him walk down the hallway with confusion on his face, probably thinking it was about some routine paperwork or policy update. 20 minutes later, he came back to his desk to collect his belongings, his face white with shock. Ryan was next. Then Trevor. By the time Trevor was packing up his desk, word had started to spread. People were whispering, clustering together, trying to figure out what was happening. My assistant called each of the terminated employees and informed them that building security would escort them out. Marcus was in a meeting when his call came. I watched through the conference room camera as he was summoned to HR. He looked annoyed more than worried, probably thought it was some minor administrative issue. I decided it was time. I walked down to the HR department just as Marcus was being informed of his termination. Through the glass walls, I could see his face transform from confusion to disbelief to anger. He was arguing with Janet from HR, demanding to know who had made this decision, insisting there had been some mistake. That's when I walked in. There's no mistake, Marcus. The look on his face was something I'll never forget. Pure shock, like his entire reality had just shattered. His mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Emily? What are you? Why are you here? I'm here because this is my company. I'm Emily Richardson, the founder and CEO of Technova Solutions. You know, the Emily who has no real skills. The Emily who's just dead weight. Janet quietly excused herself, sensing the personal nature of what was about to unfold. Marcus and I stood there in that sterile conference room, 6 years of lies hanging between us like a toxic cloud. Your company? His voice was barely a whisper. My company. The one where you've worked for the past 3 years. The one that's been paying your salary, your health insurance, your retirement contributions. The one where your friends Jake, Ryan, and Trevor also work. Worked, I should say, since they've all been terminated as well. The color drained from his face completely. Emily, I don't understand. How is this possible? You don't have a job. You stay home all day. I work from home, Marcus. I've been running this company remotely while you and your friends convinced yourselves I was worthless. Every meeting you attended, every project you worked on, every decision that affected your career, it all came from me. The woman you mocked for not contributing to society. He sank into a chair, his head in his hands. Why didn't you tell me? Why would you keep this secret? The rage I'd been holding back for 3 days finally broke free. Because I wanted you to love me for who I was, not what I owned. I wanted you to respect me as a person, not see dollar signs when you looked at me. I wanted our marriage to be based on genuine partnership, not financial convenience. But Emily, I do love you. No. The word exploded out of me with years of pain behind it. You love the idea of me. You love having someone to look down on, someone to make you feel superior. You love having a wife who makes you feel like a big man in front of your friends. But you don't love me. You've never loved me. He was crying now, and I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret, no softness. Just cold, empty satisfaction. On Friday night, you sat in our home and let your friends call me dead weight. You agreed with them. You said I didn't have real skills, that I couldn't handle real responsibility. And you know what the saddest part is? Those friends of yours, the ones whose opinions matter so much to you, they're all unemployed now because of that conversation. Emily, please. I was trying to fit in. I didn't mean. You meant every word. And so did I when I fired all of you. Security arrived then, 2 professional but firm men who had done this many times before. Mrs. Richardson? We're ready to escort Mr. Chun from the building. Marcus looked at me with desperate eyes. What about us? What about our marriage? I stared at him for a long moment, this man I had loved so deeply that I had hidden my greatest achievement to protect his ego. This man who had repaid that sacrifice with public humiliation. There is no us anymore, Marcus. There hasn't been for a long time. I just finally figured it out. As security walked him through the office, I could see his former colleagues watching with a mixture of sympathy and relief that it wasn't them. Some of them recognized me, the quiet woman who occasionally came to company events as Marcus's wife. I could see the pieces clicking into place on their faces. I went back to my office and called my lawyer. Divorce papers would be filed by the end of the week. The house was in my name, bought with my money. The cars, the bank accounts, the investments, all mine. Marcus had been living in my world, supported by my success, while treating me like I was beneath him. The story spread through the company like wildfire, of course. By Wednesday, everyone knew that the CEO had fired her own husband and his friends for making jokes about unemployed people. Some people thought I was vindictive. Others thought it was the most badass thing they'd ever witnessed. I didn't care about their opinions. I was done caring what people thought of me. Jake, Ryan, and Trevor tried reaching out through mutual friends, wanting to apologize, wanting to explain that they didn't know, that they were just joking around. But see, that's the problem right there. They thought it was okay to mock someone they believed was struggling. They thought it was funny to kick someone when they were down. The fact that I wasn't actually down doesn't change the cruelty of their intentions. Marcus moved back in with his parents. He tried calling me every day for 2 weeks, sending flowers, writing letters. He even showed up at my office building once, but security had strict instructions. He was no longer welcome on my property. The divorce was finalized in January. I kept the house, kept the company, kept my dignity. Marcus had to start over at 35 with nothing but the clothes on his back and a very awkward explanation for why his marriage ended and why he was suddenly unemployed. People ask me if I regret it. If I think I went too far. If I miss him. Here's what I regret. I regret giving him 3 years of my life. I regret hiding who I was to make him feel better about who he wasn't. I regret all those nights I stayed quiet when he belittled me. I regret not standing up for myself sooner. But firing him? Divorcing him? Refusing to let him back into my life? I don't regret any of that. Because here's what I learned: respect isn't something you can buy or negotiate or beg for. It's something you either give freely or you don't give at all. And once you show someone that you don't respect them, that you see them as less than, that you think their pain is entertainment, well, that's a choice you can't take back. I run my company openly now. I attend the board meetings in person. I have an office with my real name on the door. My employees know who I am and what I've built. Some of them have told me they're inspired by my story. Others probably think I'm crazy. But they all respect me, and that's worth more than all the fake love in the world. The house is quieter now. Sometimes painfully quiet. There are moments when I miss having someone to cook dinner for, someone to share my day with. But then I remember the sound of their laughter that Friday night, and I know I made the right choice. Before this story ends, I want you to subscribe if you haven't already, and please comment below with where you're watching from. Connecting with all of you helps me feel less alone in this journey. You see, there's something powerful about quiet people, about people who work behind the scenes, about people who don't need recognition or applause to know their worth. We're the ones who build things while others take credit. We're the ones who support and nurture and sacrifice. We're the ones you underestimate. But we're also the ones who remember everything. Every slight, every mockery, every moment you made us feel small. And when we finally decide we've had enough, when we finally step into the light and show you who we really are, well, that's when you realize you should have been nicer to the quiet ones. Marcus learned that lesson too late. His friends learned it too late. They thought they were laughing at someone powerless, someone beneath them, someone who couldn't fight back. They were wrong. Sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones you laugh at. Because we're not laughing back.